Hey everyone.
Hey, just gonna put some music on. I like this, Gary.
Vibin', I promised.
Fitting in your vibe and you'll be styling out too quickly. Man, it's just the way you do it when you move so sweet.
We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Enjoy Gary's tunes.
Vibing out to you and making me do you, man. Smoking out the way I feel emotion. Emotion, so good is so bad, is so bad, is so new. I'm wishing I'd be
It's interesting when you screen share, it changes the way the audio sounds.
Oh, Madison knows them.
Nick, the audio's clipping when you're screen sharing with the slides, weirdly. Oh, good.
Is that better now that I'm not screen
No,
sharing?
I don't know what's happening. Hey everyone.
Hey, everybody. We'll get started in a minute.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
All right. Let's make these full size. All right, can you see the slides, Gary?
I can.
Awesome. Okay, welcome everybody to Bonfire number 3. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to know yourself. If you haven't already, please join the Bonfire Slack channel. We are not chatting in Zoom. You won't be able to chat in Zoom. The only thing you can do in Zoom is ask questions, which we will get to at the end of tonight's Bonfire. We are honored to be joined by a man named Gary Shang. He is a co-founder at CU. He has a huge following on TikTok, on LinkedIn. You might have seen him in those places, or you might have seen him in Forbes magazine as Forbes 30 under
wow.
30. Welcome, Gary. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah.
I'm honored that you haven't kicked me out of hosting some of these.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Gary was the original co-host on our very first Bonfire ever, almost 2 years ago, and he's back. So we're lucky to have him here tonight. We're really excited. We got a big announcement for you right off the top before we get to tonight's lesson. Just like last week when we announced Juntos, we have a cool announcement for you tonight. And that big announcement is the Civic Gym is opening this week.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Civic Gym. Work out your civic muscles.
Gary was doing push-ups literally 2 minutes before the bonfire started to get pumped for the Civic Gym. So we couldn't be more excited. You might have heard about the Civic Gym in different places, might have seen it on our website or in the white paper, and we haven't mentioned it specifically because we didn't want to overwhelm you, but it is launching this week. You're probably wondering, well, then what is the Civic Gym? We're not going to spend all Bonfire talking about it. We could, but it's in its simplest form. It's going to be the place where you can build whatever civic muscles you want. If you want to be working on legal government stuff, you can work on that. If you want to be working on personal development, you can work on that. If you want to be working on a democracy discourse or attending a trek, you can do that. So many different options for you. And just like a real gym, it's going to be open kind of at all times. We're going to be having sessions running every single week, and you can choose to go to as many of them or as few of them as you want. Some examples that we're really excited about is Gary's session, going to be called Building the Blueprint, which is going to help you get through the leadership blueprint and learn some advanced strategies. Then we are really excited that Verda is coming back. You probably remember Verda from our first Bonfire. She's going to be with us to host a session called All the Feels. It's starting this Saturday at 11 a.m. I am going to be running a Supreme Court session that I'm really, really excited about. I'll give you more details as we get closer to it, but we're going to be examining current Supreme Court cases before they're argued at the Supreme Court, and then after they're argued once they've issued their opinion. Chabu is going to be doing some cool sessions called N4 and then Rethink X. That was the report that we talked about in Bonfire number 1. Madison is doing democracy discourses. She's also going to be doing treks. Luna, one of our stellar team members, who is an expert in international relations, is going to be doing a Civic Gym session on IR. Nick Varney, who you haven't met yet, but he'll be on in a future Bonfire, is going to be talking about systems thinking. He is an expert in that. And then a builder, Jacob, is going to be running a salon. So many great things coming in the Civic Gym. Gary, are you excited for the Civic Gym?
So excited, and this has been many years coming, really. So this reflects what you see on screen reflects, well, probably decades of relationship building with experts across many fields, but in particular with Civics Unplugged, we've been experimenting with one-off sessions for the last year and a half, really. And so we're so pumped for this launch. Amazing.
You're going to be getting info about it every week. We'll send you out the calendar. Madison will be posting announcements in the Slack. So don't worry, there'll be plenty of time and space for us to give you all the details on those sessions. And so, for example, this is what this week's calendar looks like. We're having the Bonfire tonight. The steering committee, which we'll talk more about later in the fellowship, is meeting on the 30th. We're having a movie night tomorrow at 6:30. There is going to be a trek on the 30th, and then Verda's session on Saturday morning. Great stuff. She's going to email more info about that as well.
All right, what's on today's agenda? So we have a great lineup today. Number 1 is why are leaders essential to changing systems? It's been a question on my mind. Number 2 is what defines a CU leader, aka a civic superhero. Next, we're going to talk about what does a civic superhero need to know about themselves. Then we have a really special shout out section. You're going to have to find out who is going to be shouted out for their great nomination. And last but not least, Q&A and breakout hangout. All right, let's turn to what many of you came to CU for, how to change your communities for the better. In order to shift an entrenched system, we need all of the following. We need a really strong why. In order to bring people together, you need a really good reason. You need a great team. We all know this. We need a strategy for how to achieve basically the why. We need resources to do that, money, really time, and we need a little bit of luck. And today we're going to focus on one core component of any effort to make positive change, and that is the leaders.
So if we were to guess, close to all of you already have leadership roles in your school, maybe on a sports team, in your community, a club, or you want to take a leadership role eventually at some point in the near or distant future. But do we all have the same definition of what a leader is? Probably not. Many of you, when we say the word leader, probably have a specific image in your mind. And some of you might be thinking of a famous person. So maybe a head of state, like a Nelson Mandela, or a business or philanthropy leader, like Bill Gates, a climate activist, like Greta, or maybe someone who gave their life to helping the poor, like Mother Teresa. Those are all examples of leaders that could be in your head.
All right, so this is our first rapid response round. Take a minute to think of who comes to mind when you think of a leader and why are they an effective leader. As always, type your answer in the Bonfire channel. Who's going to be first?
There's going to be a ton that all come at the same time. Yeah.
Barack. Josh is going to be happy with that answer. Daryl comes to mind. He's the only good monarch. You know, democracy isn't the only way to run things. We're all effective leaders. Oprah, my teacher, Adam, shout out to Adam, teachers, Nelson Mandela, Queen Elizabeth, your father, Sarah, MLK, got a big picture of MLK on my wall, Michelle, Donald Trump, okay, Emma Watson, LeBron James.
That's an interesting one.
Do you think LeBron's a good leader, Nick?
Well, I mean, he's won championships, so it's hard to argue with that. I guess he's produced results.
Definitely.
Shawn Mendes, friend of CU. Shawn Mendes.
So I don't know if any of you know this. We co-hosted an event with Shawn Mendes. Camila Cabello. Leo DiCaprio, 100%. Jacinda Ardern, a great prime minister, Harriet Tubman. Malala for sure, Chris Martin. I didn't actually know that much about his climate activism. That's cool though.
Got to listen to the scientists, Gary. Get off of FKG a little bit. Go back to some old school Coldplay.
Parachutes, isn't that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Black Panther.
Adam, what does Blackpink do that you really admire? I just know some of their music. BTS spoke at the UN.
Churchill. Yep. Saved the Allies in World War II, basically.
I love that it's not necessary to be a celebrity to be a leader. Absolutely.
Good point.
That's why I thought a lot of you that said your parents, siblings, I think that's great.
Just a few more.
Sundar. You're trying to get into Google, aren't you? Ankit.
Oh, Amanda Gorman. Nice. All right. Great responses. Rotary president. Cool. Okay. So the point is, us at CU, we can't prescribe who is and who isn't a leader. As you can see, there's some that we agree on, but there might be people that we don't. What we can do, though, is craft a list of some of the most important characteristics of a leader so that when we talk about leadership during this fellowship, we're all on the same page.
All right. We know you love these. Another rapid response round. What do you think is the most important characteristic of a leader and why?
Critical thinking, charisma.
Compassion, for sure. A desire to contribute positively, good communication skills, leading outspokenness.
Empathy, authenticity, patience.
Willingness to listen to the team, Jose. Passion, authority, selflessness, Madhav, steering community toward greater good. Absolutely. Motivated, love. It's the answer, really, Riley. Not afraid to make mistakes. That's great to hear, Leo, because we make a lot of mistakes. Knowing that you are wrong is better than thinking you are right. Someone who lifts people up. Definitely. A positive person. There's like so many reasons to be kind of negative and pessimistic. It is true. Like it's, especially in this age, positivity is so important. Attention to every perspective, Riley. Definitely. Jenny, basically helping everyone find their U-shaped hole, right? Like finding their potential. It's great.
Clarity and goals and flexibility to change. I really like that one. Admits when something is wrong, embracing failure and making things better. Good one, Leo.
Nicole, to identify with what they are leading. What do you mean by that, Nicole? Being relatable. The joke or the cliche is Americans vote for people that they would have a beer with.
Right. That was the explanation for George W. Bush 43's election. Awesome.
Also helps if your dad was also president.
So what do we think are some important characteristics of a leader? Well, you all produced a better list than we did by far. Tons and tons of good things there. Some of the things that we thought were characteristics of a leader, and you mentioned these, so your list was even more exhaustive, but empathy, courage, being a listener, being a galvanizer, being able to bring people together. And then the last one here, I don't know if I saw it, maybe I just missed it because they were going so fast, but vulnerability. I think, and we think, I think as an organization that in order for a leader to be successful, they have to show vulnerability to the people that they're working with. And I apologize if I see virtue signaling from Madison there. So I apologize if I missed someone say vulnerability, but that's one that I think we want to emphasize as well.
100%.
So how does this apply to you as a leader? Even if you think you're only, quote unquote, only, meaning that you're probably more than just only, the leader of an after-school club, sports team, a small nonprofit, displaying these characteristics that we've all come up with tonight to your team members will go a long way to earning their respect and loyalty to your shared mission. And if you don't consider yourself a leader yet, don't worry. That's what this fellowship is for. That's what the Civic Gym is for, is to get you to a place where you're a leader. Quick reminder that the goal at CU here is to help transform all of you into these leaders, into civic superheroes, aka people who practice leadership through service.
Yeah, and so something we want to call out is civic superheroes come in all different shapes and forms. So we can all probably think of at least like one journalist that we really look up to, or a legislator, or maybe a builder or software developer, or a teacher, or a parent, like many of you called out, or an activist, advocate, a YouTuber or influencer, or an investor. So many different ways to shape the future. Because so many people with different complementary superpowers all need to contribute to efforts to make change happen. Systems change necessarily demands leaders who don't fit any one particular profile, and it demands many leaders. And that should make you feel empowered. It is up to you to figure out where your U-shaped holes in the world are. They exist, they absolutely do. And it really is a lifelong pursuit. I think Nick and I are both continually figuring that out, and we're finding out more new ones every year, really.
100%. And I think this is the first time that we've used this term U-shaped hole in the fellowship. So we're going to be using it more and more often. And that's really the goal here, is for you to find that U-shaped hole. So how do you know when you found that? Well, like Gary said, it's a constant process, but you might be getting close when you find a role that lets you integrate your passions, actualize your core values, leverage many of your signature skills and strengths, and of course, actually shift systems, aka solve problems that you care about. And that's why we do a leadership blueprint. Right? So when a role allows you to check all these boxes, that's when you know you found a sweet spot. That's the U-shaped hole that you want to step into. So this is a callback to one of our co-founders, Josh, and one of his favorite athletes, probably the favorite athlete of all time, Jackie Robinson. He used to have a saying that said, "Life isn't a spectator sport." Now, what does that mean? It means you just can't sit on the sidelines and expect for your circumstances to change, or your community circumstances, or the world's circumstances. You have to go out and make that change. There are multiple ways at any given point for you to do good for yourself and the world, but you don't get those opportunities, and you don't know which opportunities to look for if you don't put in the work to know yourself and grow yourself. And again, that's what this fellowship is for. Now, we just threw another phrase at you. What does knowing myself even mean? Why do I need to know myself? I am me. What else do I need to know besides I'm here? I'm me. This concept, you might have heard it before, goes all the way back to ancient Greece philosophy. Plato believed that the number one thing you could do in your life, the only thing you really need to do, the most important thing in your whole life, is to know thyself, to know yourself. If you do nothing else, if you can fully understand yourself, then you have succeeded at life. It seems pretty easy, right? All you got to do is think a little bit and know yourself, but it's not. One key thing to remember is that no one knows you better than yourself. There's a phrase that says, wherever you go, there you are. And that's because only you can know yourself. But Gary, why do I need to know myself? What's the point of that?
Great question. Knowing yourself is foundational to being able to develop yourself, which is essential to becoming a civic superhero. All right, another rapid response round. What do you think is important to know about yourself? Your values, your weaknesses, your limits, passions, emotions, and how I use them. I like how you say how I use them. That's really interesting. Morals, your morals, boundaries, weaknesses. TikTok's algorithm knows you better. That's actually too real. Okay, what I'm most passionate about, compatibility with others. It is interesting. Like that is just meeting a bunch of people, trying to build stuff with them. You learn so much about yourself.
So true.
Your thoughts. Wow. Absolutely. There's this simple idea. It's like a complicated word, but a simple idea, metacognition. So thinking about your thinking. Once I recognized that was something to regularly do, it really changed my life. Philosophy of life. Absolutely, Karina.
What makes me happy? It's a good one.
Yeah. Your goals. I think it's really easy to let kind of the world set goals for you. It's pretty revolutionary to realize that you can define what success is. How I deal with difficult situations, 100%. Like, how does your body almost like react to situations? And so you can pre-plan out like, okay, if I know that this is going to happen, how should I plan in advance, maybe to not go into these situations, or better plan how I can respond instead of just react. Your biases. It's really important to admit that we all have our biases. Absolutely. Oliver. What kind of mark you want to leave? Yeah.
Great answers. Thank you, everybody.
So there is no right answer to this question, but we do have a perspective on what you want to know. All right, so basically you covered all these. So your values and virtues, your passions, your strengths, your lifestyle. So like, how many times have you asked, like, what do I do in my day, and what does it say about me, and how is it different from how other people live their lives, or people I look up to? Who are my influences? I would say that if it's better, it's really important to treat these influences as something that you can control versus that are kind of passively affecting you, your identity roles. So it's like I choose to be a volunteer in the city. I choose to be a good brother, sister, etc. What you also want to know your growth areas. So a lot of you said your limits, your capacities. Absolutely. So many of you have already clearly begun the process of thinking deeply about all these essential things to know about yourself and putting them into your leadership blueprint. By mapping out these essential parts of yourself through the blueprint, you will more easily find your U-shaped holes, which a reason why we're going to keep bringing up this concept is it's just so important to like just your ability to flourish.
Okay, so we did cover a lot tonight. Just as a recap, changing a complex system is difficult and is going to take collective action. Collective action depends on the existence of civic superheroes, just like you, that are working together. And civic superheroes need to know themselves, including what we just listed, your values, strengths, passions, etc., all the things in your leadership blueprint. They need to know themselves, be true to themselves, and intentionally grow themselves and those superpowers to contribute to the change they want to see. The quest this week, Leadership Blueprint Quest, is a superpowers quest, because understanding what you're good at is so important to making intentional decisions about how you want to grow yourself through your self-discovery subjourney. Now, as always, remember, these quests are not for us. They are for your development. We are not grading them. If you are having trouble with any quests, please watch the guided videos that go with them. Please reach out to me, to Madison, to Gary, if you have any questions about these quests.
All right, so this week's recommendation is a YouTube video from one of the best creators, best authors and creators today. His name's Ryan Holiday. He does a lot of videos of personal development with a Stoic focus, which is a sort of like a very practical, like how to live your life philosophy. Remember, this is just one perspective on how to develop yourself, and ultimately personal development is something you figure out for yourself, but take inspiration from many. Personally, there's literally hundreds of people that I have taken inspiration from in different ways. And so feel free to chat about this recommendation in your Juntos if you chose to join one, and you can chat about it in Slack or send it to your friends and family.
All right, some announcements. If you signed up for a Junto last week, you should have already received an email from me with your Junto assignment, letting you know who your guide is. They're going to start this week, with the exception of one Junto that is actually going to start the next week. Everyone has also been placed into their Junto Slack channels, so you can chat up your Junto, talk to your guide, and get ready for your first Juntos this week. Very, very exciting. Second, we have a survey that we want you to fill out. This is a survey that we're going to give you now at the beginning of the fellowship, and then again at the end of the fellowship, to measure your growth throughout the fellowship. Really, really important that we fill it out so we can see how we're doing and make this fellowship better. I'm going to email it out tonight in my recap email. I will randomly select one person who fills out the survey, and you will receive a CU t-shirt. Last, really, really excited to announce our nomination leaders. The 3 fellows who nominated the most people last week were Myrna, Myrna came in with 17 nominations. Amazing, amazing job. The reason you'll see tacos there is if you want to give her tacos in Slack, that would be really, really appropriate. She definitely deserves them for all the nominations that she came in. Joshua from Mexico, amazing, amazing job. I think he had 13 or 14 nominations. Great, great job. And then Tim from Russia. Tim came in, I think, with 10 or 11, maybe a few more nominations. Absolutely crushed it. So
Huge.
the three of you, almost 40, 50 nominations between you. Such a great job. We're going to be sending out CU merch to you as well. And we can't thank you enough for helping out. If anyone else wants to continue nominating, we'll be running similar prizes throughout the fellowship.
Yeah, thank you, Myrna, Joshua, Tim, for setting the culture. Pay it forward. If you're having a good time during this fellowship, pay it forward. We're going to have 2 or 3 fellowships, every year. So this is just so awesome to see this enthusiasm from you.
Great, great job. All right, let's do some Q&A. Remember, stick around after the Q&A. Ash is going to post a link in the Slack to the breakout hangout. Let's look at the questions.
On Zoom, right?
Yes, questions are on Zoom.
Okay. I'm curious to hear your answer to this, Nick, but I can answer first. How do you find your own passion or one of your passions? I think this is the same for most people. You try a bunch of stuff out. I think it's easy to prejudge, I'm not gonna I don't know, fishing or skateboarding or playing the piano or painting. But it's really hard to know if you don't try it. So that's how I've discovered so many of my passions. But what about you, Nick?
Same way. You have to try these things. It is trial and error. It's like you play this instrument, you realize I don't like this. This isn't for me. You start playing tennis. You're like, oh wow, I like this a lot better. So I'm gonna stick with tennis. I think that's the only way I found my passions is just trying them out.
100%. All right. What's the difference between values and strengths? So your values are kind of like, okay, I value commitment, right? I value honesty. I value hard work and grit, right? It's like almost like abstract ideals that you value, that you think are really important. Your strengths are things you're good at, really.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I just say, yeah, values are the things you care about so deeply that you're not going to change those values. You're not really going to compromise on them unless something really, really drastic happens to kind of change your mind. But strengths, those things can change over time. You can get better at things if you put the work in.
Yeah, and you actually don't have to value something you're good at, which is
right.
Interesting to think about.
That's a great point. Lots of questions. Take whatever one you want, Gary.
Okay. Will Civic Gym meetings be recorded if we can't make them live? Generally, yes. So there's going to be some where we really want to respect the, to use the word vulnerability of our participants. But I think it's like, Nick, it'd probably be fair to say the default is it's recorded and uploaded.
Right. Do these nomination leaders update weekly? That's a good question. I'll be tracking it definitely. And so I think as we go through the fellowship, we'll definitely be awarding more prizes for nominations. Gary, how do you prioritize your mental health?
I think, how do I moreover prioritize like my overall well-being? My mental health is part of it. Like I'm so grumpy when I don't get enough sleep, when I eat unhealthy, And that's actually not talked. I don't think that's talked about enough when it comes to mental health. Like, I think a lot of people, if they want to, they should go to therapists and all that. But a lot of what affects your like physical health also affects your mental health. So I really pay attention to that. How about you?
100%. Yeah, I've noticed that if I can't exercise, that really affects my mental health. I feel much calmer if I get
100%.
to exercise, and I'm just able to be way more productive at work. Who do you think when the word leader comes to your mind, Gary?
Yeah, so many people. Just one example is maybe John Vervaeke, who's a professor can't speak, University of Toronto, who is just so like, he's obsessed with the question of how do we address the crisis, the crisis of meaning in the world. Like, people are really trying to figure out their purpose in this really chaotic time, and so I've never seen anyone more committed to these questions.
That's
What
a
about
good
you?
one. I think of John Wooden, and that probably really dates me. He's an old basketball coach from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That he coached UCLA to the most men's basketball titles, and just lots of great lessons in life from him. Really great leader. When will the Civic Gym sessions be open for application? So you don't have to apply. You're already in. We'll post the calendar, post the Zoom links. So no need to apply for Civic Gym sessions. How is growth mindset a core value for an effective leader? I'll just take that quickly. If you don't have a growth mindset, think about the opposite, right? That means you're not willing to learn. You're not willing to take in new information and possibly change course. And that's really, really dangerous for a leader. It's a good thing, obviously, to have core values and convictions, but you definitely want to have a mindset where you can learn more and be adaptable to new information.
Well said. What actually leadership mean to you guys? I mean, that's just such a big question. I think, I don't know. How would you answer that, Nick?
What actually leadership means to me? I mean, I think it was the stuff that we talked about tonight. I really like vulnerability as a piece of leadership. Really like empathy, and then I like being adaptable, and like we just said, having a growth mindset. Those are all things that I really value in leadership.
Cool. Nick, why don't we see if we can like super rapid fire answer these
let's
and then
do it.
wrap up. All right. How have you ever felt that your passions are being overshadowed by your commitments like school and work? How do you deal with or fix that? I mean, I think this is a question, Angelisa, maybe raise it in the questions channel because all of you are dealing with this at the same time. Really great question.
I will say that there are some things that you have to learn in school and in work that might seem like drudgery at first, but then can help you when you are trying to actualize your passion. So for example, like I didn't love math in school, but I was really glad that I was forced to do it, and especially learning statistics, because that has really helped me eventually as a teacher. And then if I'm trying to explain like a certain study to someone, which is a passion of mine, I really need to know those statistics and understand that stuff. And at the time, I didn't think that was going to be necessary, and I thought it was drudgery. So sometimes you kind of have to go through those things.
Nick, can someone join a Junto? It's too late.
It's probably too late unless you can make one of the times
Right.
that I've set. You just got to email me if you want to do that.
Cool, Azaria. Email Nick. All right. How do you find out more about yourself if you feel like that depends on people around them? Would love to actually hear more about this. Maybe you can ask this in the questions channel what exactly you mean. But what that makes me think of is so much of who we are is a reflection of who we surround ourselves with. So I think getting to know those people helps you understand yourself for sure.
To confirm, values are things that matter to us. Yeah, values are things you care deeply about. Strengths are virtues we possess. Not quite virtues. Gary, how would you distinguish those?
I wouldn't say like being able to walk on a balancing beam is like a virtue,
Right.
but like a virtue has a more direct relationship to values. Like a value is more, I mean, we can just play with word games at this point, but virtues are like, if someone is in my definition, if someone is virtuous, they are living their values. But that's we can spend as much time as we want later on talking about that.
How to deal with self-doubt when you're in a space where wanting to become a leader is seen as pointless. I guess I'd have to know more specifics about the space that you're talking about. I can't think of any right now that I would deem as pointless, but maybe there are that I'm just not seeing.
Yeah, I think these questions remind us that a lot of like it's so hard to give advice when there's when ultimately we need a lot of context on your situation, because otherwise I think there's a lot of like thought leader type people that give advice that they think applies to everyone, but it could be the exact wrong advice for certain people, but even if it's the right advice for some.
Right. I would just say, Karina, that we all deal with self-doubt. Like imposter syndrome is 100% real. I'm sure we've all felt it. And so I don't think that if you're trying to become a leader in a space that it would be pointless. So try not to doubt yourself there.
100%. How can we discover what makes us unique, our singularities? Such a great question. It's kind of like how, well, it's kind of related to how you discover your passions. You got to try a bunch of stuff out. You got to meet a lot of people. I think for Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, for both of us, like the more people you meet, the more that you understand about like who you are, what
right,
makes you unique. Because like, I mean, I don't think it's that important to have characters that are like truly unique, but like you can find out what characteristics are sort of rare, so that and that really helps you figure out like your U-shaped hole in a team. So if you have certain skills that are rare, and those are valuable skills, like, oh, maybe like I should contribute those to the team.
Great. So I scanned the last couple of questions. They're all about leadership. So I'm just going to say in general, as we wrap up, that there's no way we're going to answer all the questions tonight. And that's what the point of the fellowship is, right? It's for you all to figure this stuff out, to give you that time and space and community to figure it out together. So you're asking all the right questions. If you are still curious about this stuff, as you obviously are, and you haven't started your leadership blueprint yet, start filling that out, right? Start going back to those exercises. It's never too late to start. And I think that'll help you work through some of these questions that you have. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Gary, for co-hosting tonight. The next time you'll see Gary is in his personal development sessions, where you'll learn more about the leadership blueprint. And like I said, check him out on TikTok, check him out on LinkedIn. He'll be around.
Yeah, I'm going to share my leadership blueprint in the questions, well, in the Bonfire channel, actually. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.